Are you trying to grow something and you have a lot of different ideas or a lot of different things going on at once? Or maybe you have this idea, you're over here, you're starting something, maybe it's a podcast or whatever, and then you're over here, maybe you're going to do YouTube, and then over here you're going to do webinars, and then over here you're doing Instagram, and then you're doing lives on Facebook, and you feel like you're just ping-ponging all over the place, trying to figure out the way to grow your thing, the way to attract people in. So when I wrote my book last year, this book, Stop Procrastinating Your Purpose, one of the things that I talked about was how that's actually something that sabotages our success. And for me, one of the challenges I often had was I just continually felt like I wasn't doing the right idea. It was like, oh, this isn't it. And then I would change ideas and change ideas, change ideas. So years ago when I was building my first business, I was struggling financially. It was really bad. If you haven't heard my story, you can probably watch one of the videos. I was in a total state of desperation, right? I had moved out of my apartment and I had creditors calling. My bank account was in overdraft. I was defaulting on loan payments. It was absolutely brutal. And this is about 14 years ago now. And what the advantage of that was that it forced me to narrow my focus just down to like, okay, what do I need to do to make this thing work? Like, what do I need to do to get this business going? And as a result, I focused on less things. I just got this like narrow focus. Now, I got a couple examples of the way that is. So have you ever seen a kid play a video game? And they're really good at it, and they just seem to whip right through, and you try it and you get killed, and they go and they're just like da 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 da. Because they've learned to recognize the patterns, right? They've memorized the patterns. And so part of growing, part of marketing is pattern recognition. Now, that may sound a little confusing, or maybe it doesn't. But basically all that it means is when you see something over and over and over and you get to understand it, right? So you've got some area of your life already where you know the common patterns, the signs, the things that lead you to success, right? Maybe it's somebody cooking, that they've cooked a certain dish so many times that they know if it looks this certain way, then you got to make this adjustment, right? That's a pattern recognition. And then it, based on the pattern, based on the signals back, is then knowing how to adjust course and get the result. Now, why am I sharing this? When it comes to marketing, one of the things that I learned years ago was that we also have to look for the patterns. And the problem here is that if we hire people to do it, or if we're jumping from idea to idea to idea, we're not staying in it long enough to recognize the patterns, right? Or if you hire someone, you're not learning the patterns of your audience. So recently I was running ads for my book actually, and putting it out there, and I was testing headlines, and I was like, I want to see what resonates most with people, what language do they like, and really looking for the patterns, like what's going to create that emotional connection with people. And I learned a ton. Like I had a lot of insights about what they liked, what they didn't like. And then by learning that, it then helped me to create other content. It helped me to create this kind of content right here. And so it was understanding the things that my audience, that the people that really resonate with my message, what they are pulled to. But if I wasn't looking at that, I wouldn't be in a position to see those patterns. Now, the other part of it is, have you ever been trying to figure something out? You're trying to figure it out, and then all of a sudden you have this insight about it. Maybe it's the middle of the night when you're sleeping, or when you're trying to go to sleep, or when you wake up, or you're in the shower, and you're like, oh, wait, I know what to do, right? We tap into our creative genius, our subconscious, our higher self, whatever part of it, or it's all parts. We tap into that when we're just so narrowly focused on figuring that thing out. But when we're juggling a bunch of different things, if you're trying to grow in so many different areas at once and moving from thing to thing to thing, you're not allowing your genius, your ability to just really tap in and just master or maximize that one thing. So we have to find the right thing for us, right? Now, what is that for you? Now, maybe if you're great on video, maybe it is YouTube or podcast or something like that. If you're great, or lives on social media. If you're great in written word, maybe it's about blogs or something like that. How you focus on email. Maybe your thing is live and in person, right? Whatever it may be, there are so many ways, and I'm not one to tell anybody the way that they should get more clients. I tell people, I actually support people in finding the ways that are best for them. And here's a clue, is that you can't hire people to grow it until you have figured out what the blueprint is yourself, right? So it's kind of like building a house. If you say you want to build a house, you've got this vision in your head and you can see this thing. Now, maybe it's a log cabin. Maybe it's all glass and steel and modern and beams. Maybe it's a tiny house, right? So all three of those very different things, very different houses, they're all going to require very different builders to do it, right? Kind of makes sense, pretty straightforward. So what would your first step be? Well, you've got this idea, you've got this vision, you've got to get it onto a blueprint, right? So you might work with an architect or, draw it out or whatever it may be. Now you get the blueprint down. Now that you have the blueprint, what do? Now you go hire the right talent to build based on what it is that you want to build. Sounds obvious, right? You're like, yeah, of course, that's exactly what you're going to do. Well, building your business, your mission, trying to attract clients needs to be the same way, right? You need to take this vision that you have, get it down into a blueprint, get the plan down on paper, and then go and hire the right talent based on what your plan is. And the mistake that people make is they go out and they just try to hire someone with no plan in place and not having all of that created, and then they're not getting the results that they want and they get confused. And I did this over and over and over. I hired the social media manager, I hired the paid him $500 a month, or her, I should say, paid her $500 a month. Got nothing for results out of it. I hired the funnel builder and spent $5,000 and again got nothing out of it. I hired the marketing firm. I spent $35,000 in a year of money that I just really could not afford to spend. And in the end, I got nothing out of it. And over and over and over, I kept blaming them. I kept thinking it was them and I was frustrated and maybe I just had the wrong person. And then eventually I learned, oh, wait a minute. It was me that didn't know how to manage them. Now, the last little thing I'm going to share on this is the last little key point. That one of the turning points for me in this was Simon Sinek's video. Now, if you have watched it or haven't watched it, I know a lot of people that have watched it, they're familiar with the concept, they love it, but they also didn't know how to apply it. But here's how it goes. Most businesses talk about what they do, right? Most people talk about what they do. And so in our space, it's people talking about their coaching, their courses, their events, their masterminds, their programs, whatever it may be. They talk about what they do. And some good companies talk about how they do it, right? The way that they do it, what goes into all of it. But truly great companies talk about the why. And when I work with people in this space, the thing I see over and over and over and over is they're talking about what they do and they don't have a plan and they're not sure what they're doing. So they're just ping ponging all over. Nothing's really working. And it just kind of goes on and on and on like this for years. It's really about learning how to create a plan that's based on the why of it, a purpose-based message that when your ideal clients, when people out there, your audience, they see it, they hear it, they read it, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's meant for me, right? Your stories, how it's crafted in there that hits on a deeper emotional level. So I just wanted to come on, share this quick video and talk about one of the pitfalls of bouncing around. I really want to encourage you to get narrowly focused on one thing for a long time. For me, it was about 2 years focused on selling one product through a web page with some ads and getting people on the phone. It was just 3 steps over and over and over and over, and just dialed it in. Now about, we started that process like 12 years ago, and now 12 years later, we get 3, 4, 5 clients a day that come in from the work that I did 12 years ago, because it was the right work to really dial it in. And then once you get the recipe, you can just leave it on autopilot and it just goes and goes and goes, and it works really well. But you've got to take this time to do that initial work as the leader, the visionary, the person with the thing in their heart that needs to share. You've got to get what's in there. You got to get it on paper and then share it with the world. So if you want to learn more about how I support people in doing that, click one of the links here. You can come watch. I've got a free workshop that you can sign up. You can go through step by step. It tells my story, goes deeper into a lot of points. People's covering discomfort with sales and avoiding selling, and how often people are giving away their time for free or for cheap. the pitfalls of marketing, being inconsistent, hiring people and it not working, all of that stuff and the barriers of growing a mission. So click here, go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, thanks.